Hello, everybody. Mariner here, and welcome to Net That Haul. And it's me who's leading the show, Nima, and you are writing the timestamp. So
I already forgot that just in the intro music.
I'm so glad you spent 10 minutes planning for this thing.
And the next problem is, what did we just say? What we have to do is make sure that we have a good introduction, because this is
where you don't say any swear words in the first 30 seconds. Yeah,
correct.
Just remember that part. So that's the key thing. So we've got to 44 seconds in, no cursing just yet. So I think we're here for the Game Week 31 matchup show, and all three of us are back. It looks like we're back together again, guys.
Well, I think we are. I'm not quite sure what we're doing, but I suppose that's not uncommon given the fact it's 5:42 in the morning in Singapore. On Friday, is it Friday? It's Friday. I'm working from home today. Wonderful. How are you, boys? How was your game week? How's just life in general?
Life in general is getting hot here in the desert. It was above 30 degrees yesterday, so life is moving on seasonally and cyclically as it usually does. My game week, I have no idea. I don't remember. I'm firmly on the FPL beach. And that's where I'll remain for the remaining game weeks of the season. Exactly.
I love that. I had a look. I got 55 points in the end, but it was a kind of small red arrow. Couple benching decisions were the difference between that and a green arrow. So FPL wise, just waiting to join you on the beach, Gabe. Really, I was showing you my chips. I'm hoping I don't get my worst finish in 6 seasons, really. So that's kind of my only motivation to not being on the beach yet, is trying to save face. I don't want to just ruin 6 years of progressive ranks to like have my worst ever finish. So it's definitely a bit intense, but we'll get there.
I was just going to check my points, but I just realised that I need to put my 2-factor authorization code in, because for some reason it's reset again, so I can't even check. So I'm now going to look on another page to see if I can find it on that. How many points did I get last week, boys? 63.
Yeah, see, that's looking good for you, mate.
63, and another green arrow, and finally into the top 1,000. Now the plan is to stay there.
Top 1,000, yeah, I know. That sounds like last season for both of us.
100,000, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what he means.
A few too many zeros on it this year, but anyway, that's life. Anyway, guys, let's get going, I think. Once again, it's great to be here. It's nice that we're all here. I suppose we'd better say hello to a few people whilst we're just lining ourselves up. Gabe, do you want to go down the list today and let everybody shout a few?
I would be delighted to, Mr. Mariner. First here on the list is Connor Hunt, says 51 points and pain. So I guess that was around like the cutoff, the mid-50s area was around. It was maybe like a gray arrow. Asad Ali is joining us. I know he's on the East Coast here. Alexia is joining us, our resident musician, Mariner. She just composed a beautiful song. Go check it out on Twitter. It evokes so many memories of being a kid and playing the game and having dreams. FPL Rubber Ducky, of course, is back in the house. Quack to you, my friend. Big Mike. I think this is Big Mike Fury. He does these posts on Twitter where he only looks at like FPL points and says these are the best FPL players just based on points. It's interesting to take a look at like our underlying stats versus results.
That's nice. Don't worry about these shitty statistics. I can swear now, by the way. We're in 4 minutes. That's okay.
Yeah.
You made it. That's probably why I tried to take the steering back right at the beginning. I panicked after saying you should go.
Mark Bond is joining us. He also got a 59 this week. Danish Rijwani, 58 points this week. Dom, our good friend Hauler Dom, is in the house as well. And that's who we have right now. Do give us a like if you are enjoying the stream, if you're finding things useful. And this is just the beginning. It's going to get better.
Yeah, I think so. So anyway, game week 31. We've got England on the thumbnail, Nima. I suppose.
Yeah, you want me to give you my this is like my section.
Yeah. I want to hear the interpretation of the weekly.
Your FPL philosophy will be much more deep, I'm sure, and hopefully for the fellow hauler out there in Singapore, Mariner, who woke up at 5:30 to watch this with you. I know they're hoping that it motivates them to have woken up too, and it was worth it. But my thumbnail, I really like this because it's all of this game week's questions basically, like on this one screen here. Because Haaland, you have him. If you don't have him, you probably get him and you captain him. So that for me is my main decision. He's not here. He's obviously not English, but he could have played for England, right? He's from Leeds. So Kane is here. He's the alternative captaincy option. He's there on the right. He's leading the pack of the game week 31 story. You got Rashford, the big injury news. Everyone's looking to buy Grealish, but it's because Foden's recovering from surgery. So all four of them are here. They all play a part. They're all part of this game week's decisions. Do you sell Rashford for Grealish? Is Foden going to come back? Does that mean Mahrez is a no-go despite being rested? Is Kane a captaincy shout? And I'm sure the captaincy metric will reveal all. So here they are, the three lions yet again. I know many thumbnails, Gabe, they seem to make it onto here, but mainly it's because Kane and Saka is the only time you're going to find them kind of celebrating, assisting each other's goals. So up until now, they were the main stars, but this week I think it's all about Man City versus Leicester, and I'm excited to see the matchups analysis of that game especially.
I think it might be entertaining. Having seen it. Right, okay. Gabe, the guy is back on the toilet, and I will read the philosophy this week.
Because
world history is a court of judgment by, is it Hegel or Hegel?
Hegel.
Mm-hmm. Right. Please
not
explain.
Not like Kegels, more like Egos.
Please explain from an FPL perspective.
Yeah, so and we're gonna get into this. This is gonna come up later in the actual matchups analysis. We're looking at a lot of historically good players like Salah, for example, that maybe we're just like accepting that they're the way to go just because historically they've been good. So I think as we head into like there's a bit of a change, I think, in the fixtures and in the way the doubles are lining up, where we're looking at different types of players, and I just think we need to look before we move, just to make sure that we're not taking history as fact. And instead, so that there are a couple things here. We look back on history, and what we see of history, or what we recall of it, is our experience of it. So it's really our judgment of history, not history itself. And then when you talk about like dominant narratives, it's we hear talk of seasons past of like, oh, that was a very tricky season, or this was a difficult season, but that's only like for some, and it's usually the minority of people that it was like that for. So the dominant narrative will always will always prevail, and that dominant narrative is a judgment in itself. So question what you think you know about history, I think, is the message.
I think that's a fair one, because I think one thing we noticed is that sometimes the way that certain third-party sites consider predictions and things like that, it's a slightly different way of putting it, but at the end of the day, they are looking at history. Ultimately, every prediction actually is taken into account what has happened probably in the past. And we noticed last week, didn't we, that when you have Grealish's prediction, for example, was quite low. And we spotted that. And we said, on the basis of that, if this was different, then Grealish was a very, very good, in fact, a very good captaincy option last week. I'm sure we did say it.
We did.
Turned out he was. So, yeah, world history is a court of judgment. I suppose, Nemo, we can talk about Arsenal about that, but maybe not just yet. We'll wait till the game itself.
Yeah, no, of course. I think we'll go to the matchups from here.
No doubt.
No. I think you guys have done good here. Just one thing I would say, a final piece on FPL is looking at it on the flip side. Sometimes I wonder if we should pay more attention to the history, on my side at least, with players like Reece James. And the reason I bring it up is because obviously Anthony Martial has become on topic again and vogue after tonight. And so, I just need to remind myself that it can also go the other way of you going back to certain picks just because of how well they've historically done versus trusting a pick to finally this time, like stay fit, and this time stay injury free, and this time be a good long-term pick. But so yeah, I think it can go the other way too. It might serve well to warn us off certain assets.
Well, yeah, Mahrez. It's Mahrez time, isn't it? Again.
Exactly. Mahrez is here. Martial's here. There's a few exciting picks.
We'll get to Mahrez, I'm sure.
As a hell game, it might even be. I was going to say it can't be Harvey. I think Harvey Barnes has got a knock, but now Leicester have changed the manager. You know, yeah. Or Son. Yeah. Hell yeah, Son's back.
That was nice to see. That was nice to see. That was the only thing that was nice to see in that game, actually.
Yeah.
Everything else is fucking shit.
Right, should we get into the matchups? Let's go. So let's start with Aston Villa against Newcastle. Oh, let me run through this. Well, on my fixture difficulty side of things, Newcastle come out on top, attack and defense 1.4 against 0.5 and 0.5. So that's suggesting that from my side of things, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Newcastle don't get more than one goal there, and may well keep a clean sheet. Although Aston Villa are a lot better now compared to what they were. Zonals is not much at all. And really, the only thing I really spot on the matchups from big chances, shots on target and things like that, which is centre right of the slide as you're looking, is the big chances for Newcastle, 2.8. They are putting these chances away. I do think that might give us an inkling of what we might see, Gabe, in this game. I'm not sure what your perspective is.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off the big chances to start. 15 big chances created in the last 6 away games. That's so that's where that's coming from. And like you said, they are putting those chances away. Let's see. Oh, there's another thing that I was wondering here, that like the shots in the box, right? So Villa have been finding a way to score, right? Watkins has been getting in good position. His form, he's just so dialed in. But I don't know. I don't know if I see Watkins scoring in this one. I think Newcastle actually get a clean sheet here, and I'm saying that with trepidation because I'm benching Botman. But Newcastle have allowed the average shots in the box conceded over the last 6 away matches is 57.3. Newcastle have allowed 32. It's so much lower than the average. Their defense is it's so good. And you look at the shots metric there for NetxG for Aston Villa, and it's at 0.8, by far the worst there. It's not reflected in the goal predictors because they are converting those chances, but I don't know. There's something about this one that says, I think this could be the first game under Emery that Villa don't score. And I will say, and you'll like this one, Mariner, I like Joe Wellington in this game.
He's no longer the butt of all my jokes, I'm afraid. He's actually doing all right now. Yeah. I'm just looking, Watkins, 10 big chances he's had in the last, I think that's his last 6 game weeks. I'm sure it is the last 6. 10 big chances, but he's missed 6 of them.
Which isn't bad. A 40% conversion rate is okay. So
yeah,
let's say Villa get, it's predicted 1.6. I don't know. Yeah. I say they get 1 big chance in this game. And then it's a 50-50 shot whether Watkins buries it or not.
Yeah. I think, look, I'm going to play him. I think you wouldn't not play him at home against Newcastle. Okay. Nothing much on the zone, so I think we can probably keep going here. Apart from perhaps very, very quickly, just you've mentioned the Botman scenario. I might end up playing double Brentford, double Newcastle. I've got no other option. But that's another story because my defense is a complete shambles. Let's keep going anyway, because I think we're going to start getting some more interesting stuff. Chelsea against Brighton now. This is very interesting because this might be one of the last games of the season that I am not going to unleash my entire Brighton assets, apart from the blank game week. I think I'm probably going to unleash the whole lot for every other week now, apart from this game week. because whilst Chelsea are not good, they are a little bit better at home. And Brighton are very, very good. Numbers normally are very good, and they are quite depressed here, Gabe. Brighton's attack only 0.8, defensive completely neutral. Nothing much on zonals for Brighton. A couple of big chances. A headed matchup, perhaps. That's an interesting point. And if anything, if you're talking about the zonals, perhaps a little bit more for Chelsea, and certainly shots in box more for Chelsea. I can't quite call this. What's your take?
I mean, I don't care how many opportunities Chelsea get. They're not going to score. Fucking terrible lamb fraud, man. Like, it doesn't, shots in the box for Chelsea, 9.5 shots in the box, I think is irrelevant. Chelsea can't shoot to save their lives. And on the flip side, Brighton is the opposite, right? Look at the shots goal predictor and the shots on target goal predictor for Brighton. It's so much more positive than the rest of the metrics indicate. So Brighton is about volume. And wait, but De Zerbi won't be on the sideline for Brighton, right? He has the red card.
Again.
Yeah, so who knows? But I mean, Brighton seem to, like, they know what they're doing. They know what they have to go out there to do. The one thing I'll say is, if Chilwell starts, then I think it's good for March. I think March could actually come away with a haul if Chilwell starts. But if and I expect Chilwell to start because he received that red card in the Champions League, so he won't be playing there. If Cucurella starts, it's a little bit different because Cucurella will be held and it'll block March from getting any penetration. And what they'll do is, like in the last game against Wolves, Chelsea held Cucurella back and they sent Reece James forward. And that's why I think it was apropos for Nima to bring up that comment on Reece James, because we saw Reece James like bombing up the wing again, and now there's chatter about him. And Nima's like, no, I've been there. I don't know.
I had him since game week 17 till my game week 26 wildcard. I'm sure I've had him multiple other times, but I think I got one good haul from him last season, and I remember he got injured that week too. So he got me an 18-pointer, missed the second game. Got all the points in the first game, and then I -4'd him out for a bench boost for Robertson in game week 29. I'm sure Mariner remember those days. Those were the good old days when we were flying high, using all our chips and trying to cling on.
Back in the day. Nima, I want to come to you actually. I want to come to you actually on this one because, I've got a bit of a dilemma in many senses with and I think a lot of us have, because sitting firmly first bench of my team until Rashford was injured was Solly March. And I look at this zonal matchup and it doesn't support March, Gabe. It doesn't support him at all. And that gave me a little bit of hope that I could do the Grealish move for Rashford, which is horribly template, I know, before everybody, just blames me for being another typical bloody content creator.
I was about to do that.
Yeah, but if you look at this, that zonal matchup does not support what you're saying, Gabe. What's your perspective, Nima? Where are you with the benching of Brighton assets this week? And if you had to, which one?
So I was benching March over Mitoma, but that's because after I saw you guys last time when I signed off as fake Mitoma, I then captained him in double game week 29 and got my best game week of the season. It recovered any hope I had of this even being a slightly agreeable season. So it concluded with a red arrow the week after, obviously, but things will come back good again. So I'm playing both of them at the moment. I've benched Rashford. I'm kind of just waiting and seeing. It just seems like an ample opportunity to stick with my original plan, but I am tempted. So what I would say is I was going to sell Chilwell this week because I had to make a transfer on free hit on 32, so I would lose it either way. And because I didn't have any money in the bank, I was going to get a City defender for Chilwell. But now I'm kind of wondering, is that really that high an upside? Do I want to commit to my City defender for the double in 34 from now when I could get a City attacker that could get a piece of 4 goals in this game or 3 goals in this game? And so that's kind of where I'm leaning at the moment. I am concerned. But then it's kind of how much more will Grealish get than March? That's my question for you. So Grealish has had 2 double-digit hauls in the last 2 games. He's not necessarily being that explosive outside of that. I'm sure Foden has more points than him this season, and he's barely played the same number of minutes. So I think like these were 2 big hauls, sure, for Grealish, but I don't know if I'm convinced. And maybe when we see the matchup, everyone's talking about how Grealish's side is the side that, Leicester are weakest and stuff. I'd love to see what our zonals look like for that game and how much they support Grealish, because if I compare that to the March zonals here, maybe then the zonals is that final kind of little golden nugget I need to be like, yeah, the upsides here is with the City attacker, not the City defender.
I'm going to throw one little curveball though, Nima. March is on set. Is he on? Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. March is on set pieces, right? Some of them. Corners. Corners.
I don't remember.
Yeah, he's a bit of a stats monster. Yeah, I'm surprised he's not pulled yet. I feel like he's due.
And I think that headed matchup might just be just a tiny curveball in that. I'm sure I've seen March on corners. I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. I can't even get players in the right team these days. Certainly,
Dread is playing both the M's, but that could also be McAllister.
M&M's.
Yeah, M&M's
World.
Valle's playing Mitoma.
But one thing that I'll say, Nima, is that complicates things with the zonals is, one, who's going to start and how they're going to set up. If Lampard starts the way they did against Wolves, then it's not great for March. It's not. You're looking at the 2.2. If they set up that way, the 2.2 is the ceiling for that. If it's Chilwell, then it's probably bumped up to maybe like a 2.5 or a 2.8. So you're looking at closer to the central matchup, right? If it's Chilwell, because that's obviously gonna open up. But then when you combine that with the headed matchup, I think that's where it really gets interesting for Brighton and for March specifically, whose stats come from a lot of chance creation. I think that could line up. And then on the other side, the comparison is Grealish, right? And we'll get to Grealish when we get to City, and there are like different triangles going on there, and where the support is better. So, but Grealish, what Grealish did at the beginning of the season, you can't take Grealish season stats and compare them with Foden's season stats, because they've done different things throughout this season, right? So you have to look at, well, why is Grealish producing now?
Yeah, no, that is true. But I guess what I'm saying is that for me, like Grealish always feels like he was learning his role. So even when he wasn't, converting many goals and assists last season, Pep played him a lot still to get him into like what he needs to do for the team mentality. He'd come from an environment where he was the talisman. Everything went through him, and suddenly he had to play this new form of football. And, we saw Pep drop Aguero for a while, right? Until he played the way he wanted as well. So he's very clear about what he wants, and it can take some time. So I do feel if there was ever a time to get on Grealish, as you say, like maybe what's changed is he's been playing like every single game since game week 20. He's like playing close to 90 every game. So the whole aside, I think just from a nailedness perspective, he is more nailed than I've seen many City players be. I don't want to eat my words, but it just feels like if there was ever a time, like it is very safe. And I think that's why you're seeing so many go there. And I know as Mariner said about being sheep and stuff, like, the masses are moving. They were moving before they even heard any news about Rashford. Like hundreds of thousands had moved on to Grealish just because of what they'd seen. So the other side of it is we talk about the midfield slot being so important right now that we don't have enough of them, we feel like we want more than 5 when it comes to double game week 34. So it does kind of feel a bit like, yes, I could ride Rashford on my bench, but we're saying how valuable this slot is right now. And do I really want to miss game week 31 and 33 worth of points from that slot? I don't know if I do. And that's where I'm like, the upside's probably there rather than, let me sell Chilwell.
Right.
Like is that really, like, how much am I going to gain? Like, if I could get Trent for Chilwell, sure. Then I'll be honest, I would probably lean more that way for my long-term plan. But I have to go down in price, and it's for a City defender.
Yeah.
And do any of them really look like getting attacking returns right now? So I don't feel like the upside is there for me with the 4 centre-backs playing in that Pep system. So who knows? It's a tough situation.
The interesting thing is that we've mentioned, Chelsea again, like with a number of teams, that we've got these pre-season vibes where we're not quite sure how people are going to set up and how they're going to do it. So it's always going to be, these numbers have always you have to take with a relative pinch of salt, as Gabe says. And I think that the point you'd also think here is that, your Chilwell move, I'm not even convinced it's the right time now Yeah, I think it might be a better thing to sit and wait and see what happens now. This matchup isn't a great matchup for them. I wouldn't be busting my ass to get him in this week, certainly. So from that side of things, then, you know, realistically, you can probably kick the can down the road till almost you get to the double game week for them later on.
Yeah, but it's not even a great double game week for them. Yeah, that's the thing. That double game week for Chelsea in 37 is so far away, and like it doesn't even feel good. They got good fixtures in, you could say, 35, 36, even 35 Bournemouth away. I'm not convinced it's that good anymore for Chelsea the way they've been playing. So it's really only that 36 fixture. So part of me, I had no other move to make when Rashford was fit. So that's why selling Chilwell made sense. And what I'm trying to figure out now is, am I being stubborn by not doing the kind of Rashford out move and making the most of that midfield slot in these weeks that are valuable and sticking to the Chilwell plan just because that was the only move I can make with no money in the bank? Or do I now just hold on to him? And even though his fixtures didn't look good, yeah, you know, I'll bench him in the double when he plays Arsenal in 34, I mean, and obviously he doesn't double. So maybe I just hold him and that's another doubler I could potentially have come 37. You know, it doesn't look like they're going to get through in the UCL now. So I don't need to necessarily worry about the semi-final rotation when that double in 37 happens either. So these are just things I'm going to, I think, maybe wait on Chilwell, and maybe Rashford out is the option. But then the question next comes in is, and I think we'll move on from this matchup, is kind of like whether it's a Mahrez or a Grealish type of player I'm going for. There's a lot of people buying Palace players. People are going back to Martinelli. You know, there's a lot of options out there. It's not just the City players, I think, is the key thing to say. And depending on your chip strategy as well.
Definitely. Right, all right. Let's keep going, because I think we've done this one to death. It won't take as long to cover this one. Everton against Fulham. I mean, well, yeah. Zonals don't show a lot. Pretty neutral. Although it looks like there might be a mistake there. Should be the opposite way around. I'm not quite sure why it's showing that. The Zonals don't show a lot either. Maybe a little bit on the right for Everton. Fulham have got a bit of headers. There's nothing else there. Gabe, your NetxG shows nothing. Could be last on match of the day. What's your perspective? Low scoring, bloody scrape a 1-0 win, run for the hills, slowly make the way towards safety. Is that what you think?
I think a dire statistical outlook best describes this matchup. This fixture. But actually, I like Leno because at home, Everton and Dyche, with his little Barcelona philosophy, they can get a lot of shots off. And Leno away has just been a monster. We see it there in the goalkeeper metric with a positive 0.6 that he's taken away from Everton's NetxG. So. I just like Leno in this fixture. I think it's a 0-0 draw.
Okay. All right. I don't think we need to talk about this one, really. Fulham might be a discussion for game week 32.
I went Rashford to Andreas for 32.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Not having my free hit.
Yeah. And I think you just make a point there. This is a very, very important point to make here. If you are holding your free hit, your transfers revert to 1 the following week. So That's why I had to sell someone. Yeah.
Don't
waste your transfer this week. If you are free hitting next week, don't waste your transfer. Make a move.
That's unless you decide to go rogue. Now I'm looking, maybe, there is the option for like a -4, roll out a blank game week 32 team the week after, free hit 34. I've looked at that variation, but I can get to like 9 doublers at least, or maybe even 10 in 34, I think. And just have Trippier as the only non-double game weeker, right? So part of me feels, how much more am I gaining from a free hit? Is it the third City player? Is it the third Liverpool player? Is it that like you can get like a Trent and a Robbo plus Salah, and then you've also got free City? Is that what you're gaining extra? Because my question there is like, the team I'll have in 32 will be much worse, I think, than the team I would have on a free hit in 32 if I struggle through. And by setting up for the 34 double with my transfers between now and then, I'm also setting up for the double in 37, I feel like, in some ways. So that's why I am still kind of keen, even though 34 free hit is an option, Mariner. And I did look at, can I do like, I was going to do Rashford to like Martinelli and then Chilwell up to like Trent. And I can do that with 0.2 million in like left. And I looked at it and I was like, no, this is getting like, I'm just trying to be too clever here. Like I was like, fuck this. Like I was like, let's just go for the free hit, get it out the way, and play the rest of the season.
I mean, I did some, for the first time in absolutely ages, I opened up FPL Review and plugged my team into FPL Review. And without any, and I'm holding one transfer right now. So I think I've got about, 36 points predicted for game week 32 with my team right now. So if I free hit, that changes that, and I'm going to have to hit to get to this point as well. My predicted free hit side was 64 points. So I actually think it's, and I don't have the pain of taking hits potentially either side. I think there'll be a hit in 34 to go for the double game week for sure. But I've only took 5 hits all season. So it's a very, very different sort of season than previous. And yeah, I mean, I look at it, I've made my bed now. I have made my peace with
We've committed to this, we've got the Brighton players, we've got the United players, we've got City players, we've got Chelsea players. Like we made this game week 32 free hit bet a long time ago. But I've seen a lot. The reason I brought it up and I thought it was interesting is seeing a lot of people suddenly like considering U-turning from that plan. And I think it is important to remain flexible and change your plan if it makes sense with new information.
I don't think it makes sense.
But I don't think it makes sense for us, does it? No, yeah, exactly. For some people it might, but it doesn't make sense for me, yeah.
I did look and I just thought I'm going to be taking something like a -8 to try and get myself something close to be able to go through. And then I still might have to take a hit the other side to sort myself out for 34 and then, well, for further on. So I
think it's worth it because obviously you're someone who like has Kane, right? There's people out there who have Salah instead and they've still got triple Arsenal and they got the Watkins. They got, some people are already pretty set for that game week. They just buy 2 more players now and 1 going into 32 and suddenly they got a pretty solid looking game week 32 team that's close to one of our free hits. So I think you can't really go wrong either way, but if you can still pivot, like Val in the chat is saying, like they still want to keep theirs potentially the free hit. I think as long as your 32 team doesn't look like Mariners did, which is like 30 predicted points on the hit, then maybe you can save it.
I think the only point I would say is that we are not prepared for 32, whereas someone like Gabe is, because he knows he hasn't got his free hit, so he's already prepared. My big question is, my problem with this free hit in 32, and as I say, I've made my bed and I'm lying in it now, is the fact that I am actually, and I've said to you guys, I am actively hunting for differentials here, who other people probably are not going to consider. And we'll talk about that free hit. We'll come back to the free hit later. So I think we should park it now.
Yeah, let's park that. Let's go to before you go to the next match, there is a question that's worth just covering now from Matthew Kane rather than at the end of the show because it's relevant to this match.
All right, yep.
So he just asked about if there's like how come there isn't so much favouring Everton for their matchups here, and Marco Silva coach teams have historically been diabolical at set pieces, coming up against Tarkovsky back post blockbusters.
I mean, the numbers are the numbers. Maybe Everton have just not created that many chances or have not created that many chances over a period of time. Gabe, I'm not sure if you know anything on that, but
yeah, I mean, I don't think Fulham has been showing a recent weakness in set pieces, but I can I think I have that right here. I can look it up.
We might. One reason might be how long has Deitch been in charge, right? He's not probably had 6 home games for Everton he's definitely not had 6 home games during that time. And of course, our data goes back 6 home and 6 away games. So if you're looking at that, you might find that there's a bit of historic bias and perhaps Everton are a bit better now than they were. But again, I can't really comment without checking it. Let's keep going. Southampton, Crystal Palace. Well, okay. I mentioned the other week that I had this little sniff of inkling about Crystal Palace, and hey, Preston, they turned up at Leeds and gave them a right shakalacking, didn't they? Mind you, Leeds are bad right now. Bad. Crystal Palace, the matchup, however, again, historically, maybe doesn't show the same picture because, of course, that Crystal Palace are another team who are now in transition, going back to why. Matchups very neutral for Palace attack-wise, and slightly positive for defensive against Southampton, who are bad. Let's face it. Zonals, nothing much at all. That's probably historic. Headed matchups, just something for Southampton. Gabe, I'll come to you. It's red. The shots goal prediction is bright red. Stop traffic light scenario. Tell me though, do you see an inkling here for Palace? And if so, I mean, of course, our stats will not be up to date, given the fact that if Palace have changed. So I think I'd be very interested to know your perspective here. First on the numbers, but then secondly, on any changes that you've already spotted and whether that might be a precursor for more for Palace players this week.
Yeah, well, I wrote in the analysis that against two of the worst defenses in the league, Palace, Big Roy's Palace, have generated 47 shots, 7 big chances, and 5.57 XG in those two games. And they face maybe one of the 3 worst defenses in the league this game week. So I think I could see that happening again. And the way Palace is doing it is quite interesting. Remember, before it was Zaha was always the outlet. It was always get that ball to the left-hand side, get it to Wilf Zaha, and then maybe get it to that Elise on the weak side in space, and then maybe he can create something if that was necessary. But it was about combining Eza in the left central midfield spot with Zaha, and now it's totally changed. All the balls go to Elise now that Zaha is out. And Elise is making the most of his opportunity here. And it's not just high up the pitch. He's receiving balls high up the pitch, certainly wide. But we see, I forget which goal it was that Palace scored, which of the however many they scored, 4 or 5 against Leeds. 5, right? Where he came deep and he actually linked the play from deep and then got back upfield. So it seems like Elise is the creator. He had some shots as well that I think like he could have done better with. So he'll also have opportunities himself. But in a team like Palace, where they don't have a talisman, where they don't have a specific person that will always put it in the back of the net, where you can't trust Jordan Ayew rising up at the far post for a header. I mean, Luke Ayling, my goodness. Luke Ayling has been a theme on the show in matchups. Certainly, we've been targeting him recently. Getting beat by Ayew on a header is just inexcusable, though. But all of that comes from Elise. If you're looking at Palace, and I wouldn't be, at least not in midfield, but if you are, I think Elise is the pick to go with.
Yeah, I was just looking at SofaScore actually, and his heat map for the Leeds game, he's playing he's a bit more all over the pitch rather than hugging the touchline as well.
Yep.
So yeah, it looks like he's getting more involved in. I was just checking that whilst you were talking. So he is of interest, and they have a game in 32 as well, don't they? I think.
Yes. Yeah, they do. Really quickly, just to go back on Matthew's question about set pieces against Marco Silva, they've only conceded 6 headed goal attempts from set pieces in the last 6. So that's probably why it's not lighting up.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. No more discussion. We can leave the Crystal Palace discussion probably and maybe for 32 perhaps. Okay.
Really, on Palace, those are like thinking of bringing Palace players in. I just think there are better players on better teams. You know, Neiman was talking about Martinelli. Martinelli is a top asset right now. Grealish is hot.
See, these are important. So I saw someone ask a really interesting question. That's kind of, you'll see the relevance here. They wanted just like a 2-3 week punt, like a really cheap defender to fund an upgrade, and they were looking at holding, and they were like, well, like if Saliba's out, and they were like, 4.2 million. I'd rather get that. But then on the timeline, I saw other people debating like, if you need to save money from Chilwell, just get like Gahey, because he's also similarly cheap from Palace. So I kind of look at that and I'm like, imagine like this was a team that before Roy came, we were worried about them being so close to the relegation battle, and yet people are still willing to buy their players at similar or just slightly cheaper than like Arsenal's players who are going for a title because some fixtures on the FDR look tough. So I do still find that really that was eye-opening for me that someone was willing to get Holding because he'd rather invest that kind of budget number that he thought was a gift that FPL had given him as a nailed starter from a team challenging for a title for that price. So I think Martinelli is a bit more expensive than Elise. Obviously, that goes without saying. But if you can afford him over Elise, like get both is my answer. But if you can only pick one, like I would always be backing Martinelli. But I am a little bit biased there, of course.
It's a bit annoying that Palace, just very quickly, before we jump off Palace, and I think we should maybe move the slide back actually, so we can just keep it on there for just whilst we're talking. The fact that the player we're talking about is a midfielder. Because again, the situation is we need that 6 midfielder FPL. Come on, for crying out loud. Why 5? Because they've got Everton, their home games between now and the end of the season. Everton, West Ham, Bournemouth, and Notts Forest. Now, you could argue...
Yeah, there are good fixtures there.
You could argue that Palace could be on the beach to a certain extent. They're virtually safe now. I think probably one more win, and I think they're pretty much absolutely safe, I would guess. And there's a possibility they could go off the boil. But that said, Roy's in charge, and they've got this bounce now. Are we actually going to see them go all the way to the end of the season and continue to play well, keep that momentum up? You could see it. The issue is, I want a forward, not a bloody midfielder. I'm going to have to look for a forward, not a midfielder. Maybe my third forward. I mean, God help me, I'm back at Mateta again.
No, definitely not IU.
Who else?
No, you can't get in. I think it is
Jordan
Elise
Ayew?
or bust from the attacks.
It's Odis or Eza, and there's no forward. Yeah, you can't get Ayew.
Look, if I pick Jordan Ayew, I'm going to delete my team.
That's reminiscent of you picking Vidra.
But that said, and I'll just say another quick point about Palace whilst we're on it. I quite like that gay shout. I quite like that. But again, the risk is, are they beached? But if not, I really like that.
You were benching most weeks though, right? So you're just looking for like a nailed starter that
you said
like
that,
anything.
But you should see the state of my defense right now. It's absolute shite.
You were like, sure, chill, well, getting rotated.
Given a few weeks though, I expect my defense to be Trent, Trippier, and Shaw, and then it just picks itself. I think till the rest of the season. Anyway. Tottenham Bournemouth, Gabe. Let's have a look at this one. My fixture difficulty quite likes Spurs at home, but doesn't love them attacking wise, which is surprising. I expected it to absolutely love them. Only 1.4 positive for attack, 2.5 on defense, but then it starts to light up. Spurs right, particularly 4.2 chances per 90. Shots on target 5.2, shots in the box 10.1, headers 3.9, but just a slight downside there, only 2 big chances. Headed matchup I like for Kane, particularly. I'm a bit worried about the big chances, but Kane can stick them away. What's your side of things, Gabe? This is a bit harder to read for me, but on the face of my numbers, it does suggest that Spurs could have a good day.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to avoid Kane in this one. It's just that everything is lighting up for Kane. Look at the headed matchups at 3.9 is incredibly high. 10 plus shots in the box. That's, I mean, how many of those is Kane going to get? And then combine that with the 4.2 right zonal matchup. And you're looking at Pedro Porro and Dejan Kulusevski, just serving balls up to Kane. I like Porro probably. Well, it depends. I think Kulusevski, if Bournemouth are in a back 5 and they're playing a deep block, then it's going to be more difficult for Kulusevski to be serving the balls in unless he moves into the half space. But a little bit deeper, Pedro Porro could serve balls kind of like on the diagonal. So I really like Pedro Porro. The Kulusevski, so I put a note here at FPL Crate Digger on Twitter. His son, we'll call him Mini Digger. Mini Digger was at 4.9 million, like I think on restart. Now he's at 400K. He brought in Holland and captained him last game week, and he brought in Kulusevski for this game week. So I want to give him a shout. This Kulusevski's pick is inspired by that little guy. So thank you for that. And then Bournemouth, I mean, it looks pretty dire for Bournemouth here, but what I wrote here is it will probably come. NetxG likes Bournemouth for a goal. If you look at the NetxG there at 0.96, the FDR really disagrees with a strong negative there. But knowing Spurs, I wouldn't be surprised if a Spurs mistake leads to a Bournemouth goal here.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Your NetxG, does that work by goalkeeper as well? So does it? Because will it take into account Lloris's numbers, or will it be on Forster?
No, it's per the individual goalkeeper, not the team.
Right. So it's Lloris, then it's working.
Yeah.
All right. Nima, nothing you want to add on Spurs right now, or should we keep going?
I think just in terms of like whether this supports the captaincy in any way, but I think we'll come to that in the captaincy metric section.
Yeah.
So we'll probably talk about Kane more then.
The one thing that works against it, look at the shots predictors there. They don't like it. It's the one metric that kind of disagrees with everything in terms of Spurs. 38% chance of 1 goal versus 23% chance of 2 goals. There's more percent chance of 1 goal than there is 2 or more goals. So as far as shots, it's not a good outlook, but I think all the other metrics align such that the shots will be improved because of them.
Yeah. To be fair, it's just one thing I noticed as well. Like obviously Kane, it just feels like he doesn't even take a shot. Like he's kind of just he gets one shot, he'll get some bonus from it. He'll hoover it up. He's not missed many big chances before because he's not had to. One of the games I was watching, I don't know if it was the last game against Brighton or the one before that, but I saw like Spurs breaking, Son running up, like loads of attackers trying to run into the box, and I was just waiting on the camera frame, and I was waiting, and I just don't see Kane even arrive. Like he just, we were insulting Bruno Fernandes playing like CDM for United and how rotten our luck was there, but on the flip side, Kane is still getting these goals and the bonus he's hoovering up, but he doesn't seem that necessarily involved. I was going to ask you if that's more that just Spurs aren't creating as much, like shots on target, and whether the shots goal predictors are kind of partly what's going on here, or is it the case that Kane is having to change the way he's playing because he's like having to be more involved in build up? That because the lack of Bentancur, like it's almost like they don't have that player anymore. And I think we said this originally when it happened, like they don't have someone to help progress that ball. So I don't know if it's just that Kane isn't running up because everyone else is playing in a way he can't keep up with, or if he's needed further back and he's relied on to help get the ball up in the first place.
I think he's needed further back to help progress the ball, but I don't think there's any way that Spurs have been playing for Kane to really kind of like hang his hat on as well. So there's no way to create any connection with the players when the instruction has been as confusing, I guess, as Antonio Conte has made it. Like, are they a crossing team? Are they a passing team? Are they a get a ball wide first team and then go inside? Like, what are they trying to do? We've been watching them all season and we still don't know what they're trying to do. So I think it is more of that. So Kane just kind of like floats around the pitch trying to like keep everything together.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for one person, and he still somehow gets these returns. But I guess that's what I was saying. Like, whatever the numbers say, like he somehow always is the only guy that's there waiting.
Yeah. He's a flat track bully. He's a flat track bully at the end of the day, and he will get. I'm absolutely convinced.
He just needs the smallest sniff.
He'll get something. I wouldn't be all surprised. Here's my mini digger. I think Kulusevski is going to win a penalty, and I think Kane's going to stick it away. There we go. That's my prediction this week.
Nice one. All right, but we'll continue talking about these guys in caps.
Wolves against Brent.
Before we move on, we got 35 people in the chat and 15 likes. So let's double them. That's it. Help us out, get some likes.
Yes, please. Wolves against Brentford. Don't don't think there's an awful lot to talk about here, really. Well, we got Zonals and, so start with fixture difficulty. Very neutral, flat neutral for both teams. The matchups prefer Wolves down the middle, 4.6, interestingly enough, and more shots on target as well, and shots in the box. And in fact, Brentford don't fare very well, but saying that, they don't need to. Tony doesn't need to, because he just sticks away what he gets. Even if it's just scraps, he tends to stick them away. Gabe, very quickly, I'm a bit mindful of time. Much to talk about here, but is there anything you'd like to just jump on quickly?
Just really quickly, beware. Just be cautious of Brentford stats, because they've been in the back three a lot because of recent difficult matchups. So their stats will be lower than what we're used to. The other thing I'll say is 2.5 headed matchup. It doesn't stand out, but when you look at the fact that where do I have that? Wolves have conceded the most. Well, I misspelled that one, huh? The most attempts from set plays in the last 6. So 37 attempts from set plays in the last 6. That could indicate something there, but they've only 2 of them have been converted to goals. So very muted affair. 1s and 0s probably involved in the scoreline in this one.
Yeah. Play my Brentford assets.
I'm playing Raya. I think there's a good time to take one of the questions in the Discord server from one of the haulers. So these are kind of some benching decisions from the team. We've got a lot of people in a situation where they've got Raya, they've got Henry or Pinnock.
I've got both.
Exactly, yeah. So it's kind of, they don't know whether to do that. They've also got maybe Kepa and Raya, so they decide between those. Some people have Steele, Estupinan, Raya, and Pinnock, for instance. I think on the Steele version, because we did talk, for me, I don't know if I'd play Steele, at least with Estupinan. I feel like the upside's there. So I think for Claire, if you are watching, for your specific situation, I think I'd personally still play Raya here against Wolves away from home. And I wouldn't be looking to kind of play Steele and Estupinan in that matchup against Chelsea. So for me, I think that's just the way I would go. And I don't know about you, Gabe, what you think. I still feel like Raya away at Wolves, there's a lot of save points here potentially waiting to happen. He got 6 points after conceding 3 goals in a game. So, that own goal last game shouldn't make us just completely go off the fact that Raya has been doing quite well all season. I think he's probably been one of the top goalkeepers in the game all season long at his price point. So, yeah, I wouldn't just let that 0 points to suddenly make everyone panic and bring in people like Steele and goal. Not for me.
I mean, we have that stat. Wolves have scored the same number of goals as Southampton and Bournemouth this season. So if that read Southampton or Bournemouth, we'd probably start Raya. Yeah, so start him.
That's what I mean. I see it as those. They scored 24 goals in 30 games. Their 24th goal in the last game. I remember thinking how have they scored? Was it the Mateus Nunes goal, the wonder strike? I was like, this is their 24th goal. They barely scored a goal a game all season.
Yeah.
No, I intend to start.
I think you got to take that. You got to risk it.
I intend to start both Henry and Raya, and I will start Henry over Estupinan because I just think slightly better, just a slightly better chance. But it's very, 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 very similar. But I think just on balance, I'd probably bench Estupinan.
Well, I've got Henry at the moment as my sub for sure if Shaw doesn't start. So I'm starting Shaw, and I'm going to play
points
Henry.
last week. So he got his points last week. Thank you very much.
So Mariner, that flies totally against the zonal matchups though, where Wolves, what is it? Henry on the left. Well, 3.1. I guess that's not too bad, is it?
It's okay. It's the better one. But yeah, that's what I'll do anyway. Okay, now for the fun. Manchester City against Leicester. Every now and again, we get a matchup which leaps off the page, boys, and this one does. Fixture difficulty 4.5 positive for Manchester City. We're in 5-goal territory here, I would argue. Defense 1.6. I would argue we're at 5-0 territory here. With Manchester City. They always seem to find a way to concede one, I'm afraid. Zonals light up 4.3, 4.4, 4.8 on the right. God, no, not Mahrez. And big chances 3.4. God, how many of those are going to get stuck away? 4. I think match 5.7 shots on target, 11 shots in the box, 3.4 headed matchups. Screams Haaland, screams assists. It just screams goals, Gabe. But I'll let you do the rest.
I mean, there's not much else to say, right? Like everything just screams Manchester City here. I'll do a little tactical analysis and why I think the right side for Manchester City lights up a little more than the left, despite recent success from that left-hand side. And it's that defensive triangle for Leicester of Fass, Christensen at left back, and Ndidi, who's been extremely inconsistent this season. And then they're supported by obviously the winger Barnes, who's a winger. He's an attacking player, whereas on the other side they have Pereira, or at least they did in the last game. Pereira's more a defender, so the support will be better on that right side. And then Amarte, Sumare, and Castagne as a defensive triangle, I think, are just more consistent and more solid than that other side. So I slightly prefer the trickery of Mahrez this game week to Grealish. I think he'll outscore Grealish. And I say that as a Grealish owner. I bought him last game week. But everybody, every City asset should fly. Kevin De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan. They should all get. They could all get something here if Holland doesn't hoover up all the chances.
There was a little rumor KDB picked up a knock, wasn't there?
Oh, is that right? I haven't heard.
I'm sure there was a rumor that he had a knock, but I'm not sure. It just made me think they obviously came out of. Well, I would say they battered. They didn't batter Bayern. They won convincingly, but they didn't batter them. And I think it shows that they can concede. On another day, it could have been 3-3. That could have been more. But they're probably in a stronger position than perhaps we thought they would be before going into the return leg. What do we see? Again, I come back to this game because I've got this little dilemma. I've got this little Rashford burning wish to. I can't see me holding him, even if he might be back. I just think I'm just going to sell him and go for the upside.
You say you have a burning rash? What?
Burning Rashford issue, not a burning rash, my friend.
Okay, sorry. Just making sure.
Terrible. You're a terrible man.
Wrong show. Wrong show for that.
Yes. This isn't a doctor's show. Anyway, yes. So I have Rashford, as you know. I am looking at Grealish. Could you persuade me to go for Gundogan? It does. I do like Gundogan. He's always in the game. He'll always. I mean, how he didn't score in the Champions League, God only knows. Quite frankly, it was an incredible save. He couldn't believe it. Again, he pops up in these goal scoring area. He just sort of like drifts into these goal scoring areas. I really like him, but persuade me not to go for Rashford for Grealish.
Persuade you to go for Gundogan over Grealish?
Yeah, persuade me to go for Gundogan rather than Grealish if you can, because I quite like the look of him. I've got to be honest.
So here's the case for Gundogan over Grealish is that one, Grealish is the second look, whereas Gundogan is almost like the 1B, because what happens is like Grealish can sometimes get too wide. And then it's just like wide and then cut in, get fouled, wide, cut in, get fouled. And if he gets stuck in that cycle, then what opens up is that half space for Gundogan. And then when the other team, say Leicester, gets pressed back, and then all of the City kind of like attackers get forward, Gundogan's always the one next to Holland. So whatever drops from Holland ends up at Gundogan's feet, whether he's arriving late or he's already there. So I think there's a strong case for him. And then he might be on pens when Holland isn't on the field. I think that remains to be seen. It could be Mahrez, but my sense is that Mahrez had to take the last one from him, and Pep doesn't want Mahrez. But I don't really have any inside information on that. That's how I would see that. And I don't know. I think Gundogan, though, like speaking objectively, is the third City asset that I would be interested in, even above the defense. I'm just tired of. My son had Ederson, and City just find a way to concede small chances.
Yeah, they find a way to concede, don't they? Yeah. That's the reason I'm thinking Gundogan. I'm almost certainly going to go Mahrez, go Grealish. But the thing which makes me think about Gundogan is that Foden is not a million miles away from being back. And I think if you're thinking about Grealish for a slightly longer term, let's say Rashford is out for a slightly longer period of time, and even if he is back, I expect his minutes to be managed. I can't see them just rush him straight back in. Then, does that then put Grealish as a bit more of a minutes risk going forwards with Foden? I don't know. I mean, he's nailed at this moment in time. Grealish is absolutely nailed. Again, am I forcing it? This is the point. We always say, don't we? Are we just trying to do something a bit different here by going, am I forcing it going Gundogan? I'm not. I don't feel I am.
No, I wouldn't call it forcing it. I would call it. I mean, it's a little bit different, but there's definitely a case to be made for Gundogan over Grealish.
Fair enough. Nima, you're Grealish. You're on the Grealish camp.
I don't know. These kind of quotes I'm seeing as well now. So firstly, Val says Gundogan has a higher XG than Grealish in the last 6, which I can totally believe. And that then leads me to my next point, which is I'm still feeling hot on this just idea of selling Chilwell. I think I might just do that because I need to watch the video. I've not seen the video of how Ten Hag says it and stuff, but someone sent me the 10-second clip. But the actual quotes, like obviously I can't see the tone of the manager, and sometimes they say things which when you see their facial expression and tone, you can read it in a different way and see if they're being coy. But the direct quote from Erik Ten Hag seems okay, man. He just says like there's a chance that Rashford could be back for Seville. The words are a chance. And then there's a video I've been sent where someone else is like already sold Rashford, and they're like, "Oh no, but it's unlikely."
He said this after the draw today, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, like I don't need him to be.
Wait, so Ten Hag is taking heat for losing a lead, and his response is, "We're gonna get our golden boy back."
Maybe, yeah, no. So small. I don't think he will be back, but he was admitting that both centre backs won't be ready for next game, most likely, and etc. Obviously, Bruno is banned. That 2-0 that looked like it could become a 3-4-0 very quickly. It's kind of become an equal score suddenly. But what it kind of makes me think is I don't need him back. Like, as long as he's back by 33 and he gets a few minutes and he's prepped for 34, because the last thing we want, Mariner, is that he starts his first game return in 34. Because then if his first game back is the first game of 34, I'm not sure if he plays again like 3 days later. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. So I would rather he came back sooner. So if this news, I'm going to wait and see if there's anything else that comes out of it. But if there's a small chance of next Thursday, then surely by 33, 34, it's starting to look better than it did. So, my gut says he's only going to be another 1 to 2 weeks, which is fine enough for me to wait. So Gabe's disappeared for a second for anyone on podcast.
We all disappeared for a split second. I'm just looking at the difference between Gundogan and Grealish on the this algorithm and things which I've got, and it actually expected. It actually has got Gundogan over Grealish, but then the situation it's got is it doesn't like Gundogan's involvement or zonal involvement. So it tends to prefer Grealish for that, but it likes Gundogan for points, oddly enough. Minutes-wise, at the moment, form-wise, Gundogan below Grealish. Form-wise, which is obvious.
No, that is interesting.
It's a very borderline situation. Anyway, let's keep going. We'll wait for games.
We'll go to the next game. But I guess so. My point was that
it's West Ham Arsenal, which is, I don't know, perhaps on the face of it, maybe a tougher game than this maybe looks for you guys, Nima. Arsenal are positive, only 0.6 on attack and 1.1 on defence. Nothing much on the zonals, but saying that, there isn't normally an awful lot on the zonals for Arsenal when they're away. That's not uncommon. There is a glimmer of hope on big chances at 2.2, 4.4 shots on target. Okay, 8 shots in the box, not lighting it up. I am going to pass this to Gabe because it'd be interesting to know, Gabe, what you think on the predictions. Then, Nima, you can tear everything apart. But I'm going to give you my take on this. I don't know that I'd be bringing Arsenal assets in this week.
I agree. The data suggests that. And London derbies are unpredictable. West Ham will be in a deep shell. I thought it was interesting that I wrote here, despite generating the third most big chances in the last 6 away matches, 15 for Arsenal. They've only scored the joint 6 most. They've only scored 5 of those 15. So under 40%, not a great big chance conversion rate. What I do like about Arsenal in this one is the flank play. And I just see this as another Martinelli game. Just the 1v1 Martinelli on that side. I think that's where the goodness is going to come from for Arsenal. And it's going to come probably from like initially creating on the right, Saka and Odegaard combining, and then again Martinelli just being like launched into wide open space. I don't think it'll be as wide open as some might think because of West Ham's deep block and being at home. But the shots goal model predictor actually has West Ham's attack a little bit improved recently. But I don't see it against Arsenal. I don't think Arsenal's going to run away with this one, but I could see like a tight yet comfortable win.
Nima, your take on this? This is a big game. Well, every game's a big game now.
I think all later basically goes without saying, but I'm pretty confident, to be honest with you. For me, it's just the smaller things, the psychological things. Saka gave an interview about how disappointed he was to not win at Anfield and how it's because it's a ground he's not won at before, and he felt this was a good opportunity to get that win there. And he just basically, like, the mentality he has, I was like, okay, this is all right, I'm happy with this. This boys, every time this season he said something like that, Arsenal have cooked the next game. So that's how I see it. 1 week rest, 1 whole week to prepare against West Ham. West Ham just went a full 90 toe-to-toe. And major key first team players had to scrap it out for the full 90 minutes when they thought they would get like an easy sub at 50 minutes, 60 minutes. Loads of them ended up doing the full 90. Subs had to come on and do an intense 30 minutes they were not expecting. I am so much more confident after seeing what West Ham have just been through tonight. The ordeal their team has had to go through. And, it's not about the fitness and kind of like fatigue for me. It's about just a chance to prep for the individual match. So they've been working hard to prepare for tonight's game up until now, and prep for our game with them on Sunday only begins tomorrow on Friday. We've been prepping since that disappointment at Anfield where we went there and it felt like a draw was a loss. And the reality is, I look back at it in the league, I don't remember the last Big Six team to actually win at Anfield. I don't think it's happened since like a long time back. Like, I'm talking like 2016. So even for Arsenal, it's like 2012 or something. So as disappointing.
Well, I reckon they need to start issuing crash hats out to the people in the stand behind Salah's penalties these days, because he seems to be better at hitting people than he does the back.
I wonder if he'll still be on them with Fabinho's record previously. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah,
interesting question. I mean, look, I'm a bit mindful of time. I think the key thing here is that both teams here have a lot to play for. I do think Arsenal have got far more talent, and like you say, minutes-wise, and probably, legs-wise, probably have it over West Ham for sure. I still think this is for me, it looks a little bit banana skinny, oddly enough. But as I say, I hope I'm proved wrong. I hope you actually win. But I'm a little concerned. Forest against Manchester United, guys. Forest at home. This is interesting. Forest's fixture difficulty is negative. Forest fixture difficulty is negative. Manchester United positive. Zonals positive for the centre and right for Manchester United, 3.8, 3.9, and Forest down the middle. Big chance better for Manchester United than Forest. Shots on time, shots in the box, very, very similar. I think they have it as easy as it looks, kid. I'm not so sure. They've just conceded 2 very, very late goals this week. Last night, I should say. Or a few hours ago, conceded a couple of late goals. It shows they can concede goals. Shaw's not back. Is Martinez injured? Did I see a rumour? Or was it Malakia? One of them's injured. Yep. Martinez, is it?
Yep. Shaw's not back. Martinez is third. It's not looking good.
Is this a potential banana skin for Manchester United?
NetxG likes Forest more than Manchester United, 1.62 compared to 1.04. So could be a banana skin for Forest against Manchester United. I don't know. But so regarding the big chances, that's something that stood out to me as well, 2.5 compared to 1.7. So I took a look at the under the hood at our data. And if we predict 2.5 big chances for Manchester United and 1.7 for Forest, Manchester United have converted, 2 of 10 of their big chances in the last 6 away. So that would give them 0.5 goals from their 2.5 big chances. Whereas Forest have converted 5 of their last 6 big chances at home. That would give them 1.4 goals from their big chances. So that brings Forest ahead. I think United could be in trouble here. I think Navas might be able to. I think it might be more likely for Navas to have a clean sheet than for De Gea.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Bruno Fernandes owner, so goodness knows what we're going to. I'm not saying that they won't get anything, but I have to say it looks like I expected this to be a lot more positive for Manchester United than what it actually is. Even though I do know, and I always say that Forest at home are much better than they are away. It could be a Brennan Johnson day again. Is he fit? I think he is. Because that central matchup is quite nice for Forest. All right, let's keep going. Leeds Liverpool. And this is interesting.
Really quickly on United. Yeah. Marcel Sabitzer was playing the advanced role in the Europa League today, and it was an interesting advanced role because he was slingshot into the 9 position. Since there wasn't what was happening is for those that are managers thinking of Anthony Martial right now. And Martial was, at least against Sevilla, he was used to drag defenders laterally, and then Sabitzer kept hitting that spot, that gap, as almost he played almost as a false 9, and Bruno's a little bit deeper. I think Bruno's a terrible asset. So if you have him, I don't know, you might have other issues like Rashford or Madison or fucking Billing or something like that, but if you don't and you have Bruno, I think he's a comfortable sell.
My internet, I've got very, very slow speed across here for some reason. Time of day. If it continues to cut, I might just have to switch off and come back on again. But let me try and stick at it. There was a question. If you can hear me, you can answer. You can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay. From the NYTG, is Bruno worth holding? I think he is. I mean, I wouldn't sell him before this fixture for sure. And I mean, realistically, they've got a double game week in 34. I'm free in next week. He's an easy hold for me right now.
think there's
Nima?
other problems. Yeah,
I
like
think
I'd
there are.
rather. Yeah, like I don't even have Madison, but like the idea of potentially sending Rashford short term, buying him back, that's already 2 moves. You know, Chilwell, I don't want by the time 34 comes around. I want him to be Trent or a City defender. Shaw is there. He's probably not a problem, but again, want to keep an eye out on and see how that goes with United and how far away their defenders are from coming back fit. So yeah, I think for now, Fernandes is a hold. I'd be tempted if you had free United, like you could sell Rashford this week. And if you're still not convinced by Fernandes in 34, you could free up the funds by doing Fernandes straight to Rashford and do something else with the rest of the money, like get a Salah or get another City midfielder, for instance. So before the Rashford injury, one thing I will say is I was super tempted by the idea of doing like Fernandes to like a De Bruyne when 34 came around. But now with the Rashford issue and Chilwell and Shaw and others have Madison, there's just so many issues. So I think Bruno's a bit of a luxury sell at the moment. If you have no other problems, then maybe it is worth thinking about it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Anyway, right, let's keep going. Leeds Liverpool then. So, all right. So this is on the fixture difficulty. It looks like a high-scoring game because Liverpool can't defend for Toffee away from home, and Leeds can't defend for Toffee. So it looks like there might be goals here. 1.7 for Liverpool, positive for attack. 1.5 for Leeds. Not a lot on the zonals, which is surprising. And I tell you what, there is one thing which really leaps out on the zonal matchup, and goodness knows how this. I mean, Gabe, Liverpool's right zonal 1.7. Have we ever seen that before? I don't think so. If we talk at big chances, Liverpool 2.6, Leeds 2.3. Shots on target, Leeds over Liverpool 4.9 over 4.3. Shots in the box, very similar, 8.8, 8.9, and Liverpool with a better headed matchup. Gabe, your take on this?
I mean, this is basically Leeds against Leeds.
Right.
Statistically speaking, I actually don't see a bunch of goals here. I mean,
not?
No, not really. The NetxG numbers are down. The expected metric there is quite low. 1.2 for Leeds, 1.0 for Liverpool, leading to 1.46 for Liverpool, 1.19 NetxG for Leeds. Both shot model predictors align with the NetxG as well. None of it looks really good. 36% chance of 1 goal for Leeds and 38% chance of 1 goal for Liverpool. So both of them quite similar. This seems like a kind of like just a really messy, bad football 1-1 type of game for me. I don't like Salah at all. I think 1 week too early for Salah. I think if Jota starts on the left, Jota outscores Salah this game week. And that being said, I brought Trent in.
Oh, it's a real messy game. Blah 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 blah. And by the way, I've brought Trent in. Fucking hell.
It was either play Trent in this one. It was a Trent versus Botman. And I was going to bring Trent in for next game week anyway. So, and I had that, and it wasn't for a hit or anything. So I was like, so it was Trent versus Botman, and I went with the attacking, with a non-defending defender.
I mean, I don't like. I mean, Trent for this week, nothing supports him really. The clean sheet doesn't support him from my side of things. The zonal doesn't support him from my side of things. You might be better off elbowing Robertson into your team. Did I just say that?
I'd be more likely to elbow Robertson out of my team.
It does point to Robertson, I think, if you ask me. But anyway, there we go. I can see why people are looking at Trent, but is that because we just can't find anywhere else to spend our bloody money anymore in defence? I honestly think there's not an awful lot else in defence. I was looking at my team going, who am I going to replace Shaw with? And I can't find anyone. I literally can't find anyone.
It's that and the fact that I don't have my free hit, so I need a playing defender in 32. I had Chilwell. I would have rather had that. There's a comment here from Chat Sport. He's asking Hakpo. I think I would love to get Hakpo, and that probably would have been my transfer, but I didn't want it. But I would have had to transfer out McAllister because I don't have a free hit in 32. So that kind of forced my hand to go Trent early, but I think Hakpo is a good asset. Probably has that central spot nailed until Luis Diaz comes, and then Jota might take that.
This is where I think the free hitters in 32 have a real potential advantage here. They can really go for it on that fixture alone. I think they say home against Forest. That's potentially very. The issue is, do you trust Liverpool defence enough at home too? Because if most people, I'm seeing a lot of people moving towards Trent, so I could go to Trent with my free hit, but of course then I'd just be moving where everybody else is. So, am I? My differential would be to point at a double.
Yeah, Alexa's absolutely right. Not great all season. Now he's all the rage.
Yeah.
It's true. The fixtures are too nice though. They're just too good.
I think there's not going to be many differentials.
The defense is fucking shit, man. I mean,
but it is what we need, Mariner. I need you to keep selling.
That's why they're differentials.
Exactly. So like
so bad. That's so crap in defense.
You find me another 7 million differential that will have that ownership.
Oh, let's just spend 7 million just for the sake of it, right? But the point is that I just don't. Honestly, I know why you're doing it. I'm probably going to end up owning him myself. The issue is I just can't find anywhere else to spend my money.
It's the lack of replacement options. That's why.
Who else are you going to buy? There's no Cancelo.
There's no one else.
James and Chilwell are there, as we know, but there aren't many options. He has the double. They're good games to double. They're both home games, right? The 2 games in the double.
There's none.
Liverpool this season at home are still one of the top 2 teams in the Prem. So I think only City have a better home. So this game is not for. I can see the reason he's not. That's my intent.
I think you're losing you to the Nima.
Yes, my intent now. Okay.
I mean, the good thing is Liverpool have only got Leeds away, West Ham away, Leicester away, and Southampton away to go. So they're only going to lose 4 more games. Anyway, right. So, let's very, very quickly. That's the end of the matchup. Before do you want to shout? Do we want some more likes, Gabe, before we just do stuff?
No, we don't want any more likes. We're good with 25.
Right. Okay, still not enough. But anyway, there we go. So just as always, we've got the fixture difficulty there. And what I've done for everybody is I've actually left it a little bit more open so you can actually see the individual matchups going forwards as of predictions right now. And what I just wanted to point out to you particularly, guys, I mentioned Brighton. I'm going to play them all right the way through till the end. Look at Brighton's green, that bright green line straight across the screen. Attack and defense, apart from defense in 36, they are pretty much positive right on in now. So for me, Brighton are looking very good. Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester United to a certain extent, but not. They're a bit more patchy look. And then, as for the rest, it's just a little bit of all sorts. But what I would say, if you look at Arsenal, Nima, look how Arsenal's fixtures, the matchups are not great between 33 and 36, but then they come screaming back again, particularly defensively towards the very end.
Yeah, well, I've had in my notes for my transfers for like the last month, it literally just says in game week 37 and 38, there's just 2 words. It says Arsenal in both weeks. Yeah, because I know everyone's going to be so busy with selling every Arsenal player they have for all the free doubles coming up in 34, 36, and 37. I feel like getting the right Arsenal assets in those final 2 games of the season.
Absolutely. I'm totally with you.
That could be it. That could win me my mini leagues right there.
I'm totally with you. That says to me that looks very, very, very interesting. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Definitely keep an eye
we
on
can
that.
just, it was around 1 hour 23, I think, when that slide popped up on the screen, but there will be a timestamp for that anyway. Zonals as well, I've broken down a little bit more. And if you look at that again, look at Brighton. Brighton's zonals around 34 are just absolutely just light up. And you know, and then you've still got similar.
and it's
similar,
and it's the left and center.
Yes.
So Mitoma and McAllister, as it has been basically since restart.
Yeah. So again, it just looks very, very tasty.
Liverpool,
and Liverpool. Well, okay for home games. Look, this is the thing. Liverpool are always Liverpool. What I'd say about Brighton is the good, whether it's home or away. Quite often, their matchups are just good. Whereas Liverpool, they're just not the same away as they are at home.
But it's interesting. It's the left and center, and Luis Diaz is getting healthy.
Yeah.
If towards, I don't know, like towards 34, if Luis Diaz is getting some playing time.
Yeah.
I don't think Salah is the player to get. It just doesn't feel right. Like none of the zonals ever match up. You can see it when you watch him. I think it's that left side that you want a piece of.
We're all sheep. We're all bloody sheep, though, aren't we? We're all bloody sheep. And the Salah move is going to be very, very popular because it's captaincy shout, quite frankly.
No sheeps on the beach, Mariner.
No sheep on the beach. No sheep on the beach. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Right. Okay. Very quickly, I'm a bit mindful of time. I've put this slide together for preparing for Blank Gameweek 32. So the free hit week. Okay. So to remind ourselves, Brighton are blanking, Chelsea are blanking, City are blanking, United are blanking as well. I don't know why they've disappeared off the bloody screen, but they have. But anyway, they're not even on there. Which is very strange because I've obviously had a senior moment, which is very similar for me always. But what I would say is, what I'm trying to do with this is I've tried to separate it out to actually look at look at the weeks in isolation to game week 32, because you might be able to find 1 or 2 little nuggets which might be quite interesting. I'll just start with one. Martinelli in 32, the zonal matchup is extremely good. I'll tell you, I also like that I like it for Gabriel Jesus. Because when Martinelli does well, Jesus tends to do well with him. So I really like that. Jesus for me is an absolute instant pick for my free hit with Martinelli.
One question on that, and maybe Nima can give us insight on this. What's the rotation looking like with Trossard? What's Trossard's role in the team? I mean, Martinelli's in such great form, and Jesus is coming back from injury. Is there any risk of minutes with Jesus?
No, I think Trossard will come off the bench, generally speaking, with the break between games as well and no other competitions. I think the only way I see Trossard starting over Jesus would be like a tactical tweak. And I don't think he'll start on the left wing ahead of Martinelli in current form. So I'm convinced the front three stays as it is with Saka, Jesus, Martinelli for every game to start with, unless he spots something and he wants to do something, interesting against a certain opponent and he needs to frustrate them. But I don't see it happening often, especially with the long breaks.
Okay. Just jumping further down, Bournemouth at home against West Ham. They could be quite nice differentials in there. I like Solanke. I have to say, I really like him for a free hit punt. Fulham at home against Leeds.
You're not going to start him though, are you?
I don't know.
Next player.
It depends. It's very dependent on what else when I'm looking at it. But he could sit first. He could sit first sub.
In a blank game week, if you're starting Solanke, you probably did something wrong in your free hit team.
You can sit first sub though. I think he's a solid first sub potential shout. Sure. Fulham against Leeds. You've already mentioned Andreas. I think I can see why you're going towards him. Willian maybe as well. Is he down the right? I think. Is he down the right, Willian? I think he might be.
Is he still injured?
I think he's back. Interestingly enough, Leicester at home. Leicester's defence at home against Wolves. Wolves must be so bloody bad. I'm not saying I'm going to go for a Leicester goalkeeper, but I just thought I'd flag it just for shits and giggles. Liverpool against Forest. Look at that matchup. Even for defence is positive. And Newcastle at home. Do not discount Newcastle attack against Spurs at home. That is a very juicy matchup as well. Very juicy, especially centre and right. Joe Linton, mate.
You don't want your weaknesses to be done.
St. Maximan for a free hit.
He's out for 3 to 4 weeks.
Is he out again?
He's gonna miss the Arsenal game at St. James's. Sorry.
I mean, seriously, the bloke is like a bloody greenhouse.
He's out.
But anyway, and I think the reason I've highlighted some of these players is these are sort of like the players who you're not necessarily going to go all in on a completely differential free hit. You're going to have to judge it and still play the risk and the EOs and everything on the other people are playing. But 2 or 3 very juicy differentials could make a big difference. You only need to get those right, and you've got a very good free hit in your hands, I would suggest.
Yeah, I like the Isak shot against Spurs. I think Isak tears Spurs apart.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it could be quite interesting to see how this develops. But we'll leave that on the screen. And of course, the long range is there as well. So if you want to become a member, you get a lot more in Discord, by the way. I think someone mentioned earlier on, where do I get Discord? You need to join. Because once you join, you get all this data early. I think it was about 3 or 4 days, 3 years early this week, I think. So quite useful. Right. What we got next, guys? Do we need to?
I think for the time for the captaincy.
Is it the captaincy metric? Do you want to line us up, Nima, and get us going?
Yeah, let's see who the captaincy metric number 1 is for game week 31.
All died a death. Everything's stopping at this side. I don't know what's going on. It's Harry Kane. Harry Kane. But is a caveat. Because if you think Haaland plays enough minutes, he jumps above him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? On the basis of what I'm looking at right now, Haaland's minutes are down in the metric. That puts him comfortably above Kane if indeed he plays more minutes accordingly. The one thing I would say, though, and this is, again, very, very interesting, but when you start looking into the predictions of people like Hub and things like that, they have Haaland's minutes a lot higher than we probably think he's going to play as well. So
they tweak it, I guess, whereas we're using the averages.
Are actually predicting he plays more minutes. My past information probably suggests we need to almost flip that on his head. So his minutes increase, but perhaps his returns might diminish a tiny bit if you're thinking about this. So does that then net itself off? In any case, the one, apart from the fact that Kane's fixture difficulty is slightly down against Bournemouth, but we've already said we think he's going to haul, Kane tops the metric this week. I don't think he's at all a bad shout for captaincy. I think he's a very, very good shout for captaincy. It'll be interesting to see where the polls go because, is Haaland going to play another 60 minutes? But he probably only needs 45 against that Leicester team with that matchup, if you ask me. Grealish is right up there now. And we said, didn't we, that Grealish, everything's starting slowly but surely to catch up. The prediction programs are catching up now on Grealish. We saw it last week. It's still slightly behind. That would push Grealish a bit higher. I think Grealish and Haaland are almost neck and neck. I don't know what you guys think, but it stands at what it does do, though. And I think we can clearly see this is it puts Kane, Grealish, and Haaland at a different level to the rest of them this week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like Holland, I predicted 53 minutes, right? Or 53rd
Percentile,
No, that's
yeah.
53rd
percentile.
centile. So
Sorry, 53rd percentile. That doesn't feel accurate. De Bruyne 39th percentile doesn't feel accurate. I'd like to see Holland, De Bruyne, and Isak if they were 80.
yeah,
Because I think that there was a question here in the chat about there it is from Val. Alexander Isak a good pump for both 31 and 32. More of a statement than a question.
I think Josh makes a good point as well about what the predictors are saying, which is those minutes they're using are perhaps predicting, factoring in the 3-0 advantage over Bayern. From my perspective, like Haaland plays any game, City need to win. And I don't think, he's going to not start any game going forwards. Like, sure, if they're, battering an opponent, like, okay, he might get subbed off, but they got to be winning and winning quite comfortably, I think, before you see him get moved off the pitch.
that's what it does to it, guys. There you go. I've just changed those. I've changed them to 80, like you asked. Puts Haaland top, followed by Kane, followed by Grealish, pulls KDB into the mix, and Isak stays lower.
One question, because I know you've excluded this player.
Kane, Grealish, and De Bruyne are actually tied, all on 91.
Yeah, I was say I know you've excluded this player to try and prevent yourself from buying him, but how high would Mahrez be? He'd top all of them, wouldn't he? He'd be number one above Haaland.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's a distance.
Is he way down?
I'm sure he's still in there somewhere. Where the hell is he?
I think he's just manually been banned.
Or maybe I've just deleted him.
That's what I'm trying to say. You'd straight up.
I do hate him. I do hate him that much.
I saw him. You passed him. You would have to change his minutes up.
What was his minutes on?
There he is. 27. So let's say he went to 80.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It's still only 76. Wow. Okay. So I guess he makes it into the top 10, but not. The reason I ask is that Andy Mack, another good friend of the show, he's just shown me his -8, and he's got both Grealish and Mahrez in a triple City attack. And, I really pay attention when he does something because people don't know this about him, Gabe. I don't know if you knew this. I only found out recently, but he won FPL like back in 2002 or something, like before it was the FPL we know today. But he was the winner of the first iteration of FPL. So he's a champ, man. This is Andy Champ Mac. And when he takes a big hit, I pay attention. It's nice to see some people playing their own way, and especially someone who's won the game. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to say I won the game, even if there was less managers back then. It's still a very insane achievement, I think. But yeah, so shout out to Andy as well, a good friend of the show.
Anyway, so there we go. The EO play is probably going to be Haaland. I think I would expect he'll be very highly captained against Leicester. I'd be surprised if he isn't. I don't dislike Kane. I don't dislike Grealish. KDB, I'm not so sure about. If you ask me, I'm not quite so happy with that. Although he looks like he's getting back into a bit of form. So, but it's Kane or City. That's it, right? That's all we need to worry about. If we've finished on the metrics and things, let's very quickly just go into the other bits and bobs. Gabe, do you want to say thank yous to the haulers, and then we'll do some and then the mini league and then questions.
Absolutely. Start with the super haulers: Harbor Boy, Daddy Bot, Greenback Golf, Tahir, and FPL Robbie, who I saw in the chat. What's up, Robbie? We have our haulers: Harry Not Kane, Tursex, Antoni Santonopoulos, Salad Samurai, Kevin Rose, William, Catherine A, Dom, Claire FPL, FPL DG Boy 88, Akshay, Connor Hunt, Lindsay O, Tavindra Raj, FF Casuals Pod, Tom Gorsuch, Blonde, S. Scotters M, FPL Teacher, Oscar Arias, Donny FPL, FPL Mike Halpin, Podna, FPL Craig, and Dread FPL. And then we have our Patreon subscribers, Tom, Elron, and Lucian. Thank you all so much. And thanks for the people in the chat for joining us. Good chat.
Good. And the mini league: Benjamin Lockwood, Evolution FC, 2,088 points, scored 57 this week, captained Haaland. Second, Gladiators, Faith Ogundelli. Oh my God. 63 points, 2,075. Misclick Torgear is third, 58 points again. Lots of 58s and 59s. Brad Curry, our almost ever-present
He's a Hall of Famer.
He's a
top
Hall of
10
Famer.
Net That Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Again, captained Haaland, 59 points, but up to fourth now. And the constant Gardner, Jack Henry Norris, 52 points in fifth, 2051. Well done, everybody. And yeah, I think we better go do some questions, I suppose, guys.
Yes, I'll just give you some of the ones, the final ones from the Discord, from the haulers who are in our little community there. So first one from Dom Black Dragon. It's actually a question for Game Week 32 as he doesn't have a free hit. He currently has Barnes as a fifth midfielder who's doubtful, and he's wondering what we think about Barnes to Salah and whether that's a good move.
Barnes this week?
For 32. For 32.
Oh, for 32. I mean, look, I have no problem with Salah in for 32. He's going to be highly owned.
Just as a note, though, he would have to do Haaland to Isaac in 32 to fund that Salah move, and then in 33 dump Kane for Haaland. So it's like he has no free hit. He'd be doing so in 32. Salah would come in for Barnes, Isaac would come in for Haaland who doesn't play, and then in 33 Kane against United would become Haaland again. Yeah. That's kind of the rodeo.
The issue is, therefore, then is can you survive on another Liverpool asset without having to take that hit?
So like a Gakpo.
Yeah.
Straight from Barnes. Yeah, that's worth considering, Tom.
Barnes to Gakpo.
So game week 31, best defensive duo. Trippier and Botman away to Villa, or Raya and Pinnock away to Wolves.
I'm playing them all.
Playing all four. If you had to back one of the duos for double defense, are you backing Newcastle away at Villa?
I think I'd back Brentford.
With the one goalkeeper and defender. The other one's two defenders. So, yeah, I think I'd back the Raya.
I think I'd back Brentford. I just think Aston Villa are actually quite... I
think Watkins will score, to be honest.
Team. Yeah. What do you think, Gabe?
I mean, I have two from each team, and I'm playing Raya and Trips. I mean, obviously you play Trippier.
I wouldn't be benching him. Like, I wouldn't be playing Pinnock over Trippier. Like,
no, but I like
no. Trippier's playing,
but Pinnock could play for Shaw if you have him, for example. Yeah. Like, I have Shaw and I'll play Henry instead of him, for instance. But I'm playing Raya and Trippier. I'm benching Botman. That's kind of where I'm at.
I've got Shaw sat there as well, so I've held him that long now. I may as well bloody keep him. But yeah.
So from FPL Hunt as well, Martinelli or Saka for game week 31 and 32.
Martinelli.
Yes, I agree.
For me as well. Next question from him: Kane or Salah captain this week? I have no Haaland.
Absolutely, Kane.
So Claire as well, Claire FPL. So she's going to catch up tomorrow with the show. Benching headache as ever. She says, who to start and bench from Steele, Estupinan, Raya, and Henry? Do I go with two Brighton players and Mitoma? So she has two Brighton defenders. So she's saying, should I play Steele, Estupinan, and Mitoma? Or should I mix the Brighton defense up with the Brentford defense? I think mix it up.
I would hedge my bets there for sure. I cannot be confident that.
So, but would you play in this case Raya?
Raya.
Would it be Raya and Estupinan?
Yes.
Over Steele and Pinnock, yeah?
Yes.
Same, I think so. Cool. All right, let's go to the questions in the live chat that we start throughout the show. That's everything from the haulers on Discord. So, Dread FPL's first question was, I'm going to have to start both Trippier and Watkins in this game, right? Or do I bench Watkins for Botman? So do you kind of maximize your points potential?
Just bloody play him.
Play Watkins, yeah.
I think their ownerships are just so high. If either of them return, they're going to hurt you.
Yeah, I think play Watkins over Botman.
It sucks, but you just do it.
Everyone's in the same boat, so just play him.
I think I would do the same. So Matthew asked on Trent versus Estupinan this week, or roll and save until next week for 32. So he's free hitting in 34. He's wondering whether to save and have two free transfers in 32, or maybe bring in Trent ahead of Estupinan.
Well, Gabe, you've already brought Trent in. I don't know that I would, but saying that, it depends if he's got to play him, right? If he's playing Estupinan, maybe you would bring him. Maybe you would do it.
I mean, if you have it, if you bring Trent in, then you bench a Stupinian, then roll and play a Stupinian. If I'm understanding the question correctly.
I think that's what the question is. Yep. So we have Josh asked chances of an Arsenal clean sheet. I'm on my knees for Zinchenko to deliver something. I'm not too confident, but what I would say is that all our clean sheets have come pretty much away from home this season. So, like maybe that gives you some small
I don't
glimmer.
see it. I don't see it.
I don't see it personally.
No.
So Red Order 69. After watching Sabitzer tonight, he looks like a good swap out for Rashford if he's playing that role. What do you think? I just think with Eriksen and stuff coming back, Casemiro coming back into the team, I'm just a bit worried about whether he plays, let alone what role he plays, is my honest opinion. I think if Casemiro was still out for a few games or Eriksen wasn't back, it would seem like a nice punt for me. But I'm not so sure just with the amount of bodies there are for those slots. Couple final questions. So the NYTG has 3 Brighton, 2 City, 2 Chelsea, 2 Brentford, 1 United, 1 Newcastle. They're going to free hit in 32 and bench boost in 34. Who should I aim for? I guess this is mainly on the transfers front. Like, who could you buy this week that will help your bench boost in 34? It's got to be Liverpool, right?
Got to be Liverpool.
The thing is, because he's free hitting in 32, he could miss that Leeds game this week. So I think in that scenario, like if you've only got 2 City, you could get a 3rd City. I'm trying to see who else. I don't know if you'd really want to go up to a 2nd United or a 2nd Newcastle at this stage. It's tough because this is where the situation about Palace comes in, because could you bench boost a Palace player in 34? Like, I think, that's something to think about. You've not mentioned any Arsenal players. The last 2 bench boosts, Arsenal were part of them. I know they play Chelsea in 34, but again, they could be a single game weeker, like a Martinelli on your bench to bench boost. I think that's pretty viable if you're looking to go that way and you're free hitting in 32, get an Arsenal player for the bench boost. But I think it's mainly about bench boost, right? So I think Andreas, someone you picked earlier, that's another great shout, Gabe, like someone who could be perfect for that bench boost, I think. So there's a few options like that. Ferguson, if you want to take that risk, he could be
not good for bench boost 34. He has City home and Liverpool away.
Yeah, Liverpool away is an easy fixture, so that's all right. Anyway, but
I mean, no, but for a bench boost, right? That's 4 points just from playing.
Right? And he's on penalties. He'll be on penalties, right? Because Mitrovic is still out at that period, isn't he? Is he still out for that?
It's not ideal. You would go for someone else, surely.
Yeah,
right?
no,
but I mean price point. Like there is no other
price point
4.4 million. Like
the only thing I would say though is the only thing I would say though is surely we're in a 3-5-2 scenario right now with the value in midfield, which there is. Can we honestly
things change quickly. I
still think it's the obvious thing to do is once you get these.
But how is he going to bench boost a 3-5-2? Yeah, but Mariner. But Mariner, you're not on a bench boost, so you would be in a 3-5-2. This dude needs players
I forgot bench boosting. Sorry,
this is the thing. We can't think about our lens of our teams on his team because
my bad.
This is what I'm trying to say. Like his team is very different dilemmas to ours right now.
Absolutely.
But it is why we bench boosted, right? We just did not want to have to deal with having to now worry about more than our first.
I'm looking forward to junking some substitute, some down to junk. I really am. Might be what if I decided to hold Rashford this week, if I think he's going to be back, I might do is exactly that. Is just use my transfer just to take someone like Kep down to shit.
Just free up some money
and not free up a little bit of money. Yeah.
That's the kind of thoughts I'm having. So I'm still back on this Chilwell to a City defender or Chilwell all the way down to nobody.
Chilwell
like
down
save 1.5 mil, 2 mil.
Well, you could go down to a nice West Ham defender perhaps, and to keep his clean sheet against Arsenal.
I could start them this week as well with the amount of defensive issues I have. So final 2 questions. One from Asad. He asked, what are your thoughts about Isaac this week? So I think we say he's firmly first choice as it is, right? Like I'm pretty confident of him being first choice, regardless of obviously Wilson bagging both these last 2 games.
Good pick.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
I like him. And he has that potential double in 36 to come, which should be rescheduled. FPL Rubber Ducky, top priority for the next 3 weeks. So what's that? 31, 32, 33. So That's before the double. Okay.
I mean, it depends on your situation, right? It depends on what you're doing in 32. Depends on what you're doing in 34. But so yeah, that question is a little too vague, I think. Arsenal, we just said it as well. Arsenal, Liverpool.
It depends, I think, if you're free hitting or not. If you have what chips you have left.
It's almost getting the right players for the team. Almost. I mean, like for example, you know. I think that's almost where you are with this sort of scenario.
I'm in the situation where I only want players that are like still fighting for something.
Most are. Oddly enough, this year,
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen, but you know, it's either up to about 12th or 13th
in the
Premier League still go down.
Like Palace and Fulham are on the beach, and that's it.
But that's what I mean. So apart from those two, yeah. Which is players that like obviously Elise is a very popular transfer this week. So that's the kind of thing. My top priority really is just to set up for 34. Like everything I do now between 31, 32, 33. 32 is just a free hit, so that's not a planning week.
A City midfielder, Liverpool, and basically almost going back to a very solid sort of template team to run in for me, because I'm now at that position where I'm starting to feel a little bit more comfortable that I'm going to get a 100k finish. I'm not convinced. I'm not certain I will. But one way to play that is to actually just start to just play a little bit more.
I think people start to take the risks now
on the way in.
I think a lot of people take risks now because they feel like we're running out of weeks. But I honestly think you only need to take the risks like with 2 game weeks to go, like 3 game weeks at a push in your mini league and try to get differentials against an opponent in your mini league. But for now, I don't think you want to be going against too much. Asad asks, any good differentials this weekend other than Kulusevski or Poro? I think those two are fantastic differentials for this week.
Differentials this week, yeah.
Is there anyone else this week? So I think for me, it's Mahrez. If it's just for a 1 week thing, I think for me, Mahrez this week just is a 1 week own. Not long term, not for the double in 34 or 37, but just for this 1 week alone. Like I said, with my friend Andy did, like that's something worth doing. Alexia asks, who is your personal favorite FPL player ever? I assume this is actual like players who were in our team and something they did for us, as opposed to other FPL managers and ones that we like their style of playing FPL. So let's go with the Premier League footballer names instead.
Oh God, it's 6 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I've got to think about something in the history books here. My God.
Well, you know, last season you were in the top 30, man. Who got you into the top 30?
Yeah.
Who got me into top 30? It's Smith Rowe.
Was that the week you were in the 30th in the world?
Yeah, no, I'm only joking. He got me in the top 30. It was players like that. It was Smith Rowe. Oh, and Lacazette.
Smith Rowe still got a goal to score this season. Player. Don't worry.
No, I mean, it's very, very difficult. I think for fun picks, probably one of the best feelings I've had was Bruno Fernandes when he absolutely hauled. When everyone went Ronaldo last year, I went Bruno Fernandes. That propelled me absolutely stratospheric up. That was probably one of my favourite moments. I think it's hard to say personal favourite player because that's before time over the years, I'm sure. Even favourite players have pissed me off. So I like to look at, nice, great moments. I remember the FPL
I think we've got
little bits like that. I remember last year, which pumped me. So, yes, I look at it a slightly different way than perhaps Alexia maybe wanted.
I don't know if you're cracking Assad up or if you're just cracking up, but you're definitely cracking up too, Marin.
Yeah, you're cracking.
You're cracking
us up as well.
I've got another meeting. I've got a meeting in a few minutes. I've got to go.
Okay, we will get out.
Get me out of here, guys.
All right. Well, let's get Gabe's favorite FPL player, and then we'll get out of here.
And my memory doesn't work that way. Like I don't remember FPL anything. Like I remember the football moments and players, but like FPL, I guess Gundogan.
When you captained him, it has to be
triple
the
captain.
Double Gameweek week, triple captain even.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But
brilliant. And then your whole team the following week scored less points than your captain.
Yeah, exactly. Because he got hurt. So that's how I see FPL. It's like something good happens, and then all of a sudden you're pulling like an ice pick out of your temple, and you're like, damn.
You just think I've nailed this fucking game, and then
exactly
bang.
So every good moment is like intricately interlaced with a like just a crushing moment. So I don't know. I'll say Gundogan, but I will say Gundogan.
No, I think it has to be him.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's still got to be Antonio, just Mikel Antonio.
Mhm.
What he did for me, it was incredible work. And I'm not even talking about the season, Marino, where we had him and Ben Rahma for the double.
That's right. That was a good start as well.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the 4 goals against Norwich in one game. Single game week, 4 goals, max bonus, captain in game week 31 or wherever it was. Like, those were unbelievable times. Yeah, so it was because of that I had so much faith in him. Then 2 years later, right, to start the season with him and Ben Rahma, who he talked up in the interview, and I thought, this is my boy Antonio. You know, he scored 4 goals for me, man. Like, if he's picking up Ben Rahma, I'll buy him.
That was when we were good at FPL, Nima.
Back in the day. This is just a comment from Trini, and I'll take us out of here. But I think it is just worth adding about Ten Hag's post-match presser. Yeah, I think Shaw, like he says, Shaw might play this weekend. I think that's the reason I actually currently have Shaw starting over my second Brentford defender, because I have this feeling that he could be rushed back to play it like left centre back. He seems very close anyway before even today's post-match presser.
I don't dislike that. That's maybe a good way of doing it. So if he does, I mean,
I just don't want double defense. I
really hate my defense stinks right now.
Exactly. But Varane and Martinez are injured. So I think, God forbid, we start to see like a pairing of Lindelof and Maguire, mate.
Exactly. Dallo, Lindelof, Maguire.
They're in major trouble. All right, guys. So I think we'll get us out of here just before the 2 hours mark. Obviously, great to do the Q&A for everyone. Thanks for keeping us entertained late into the night. It's 12:30 here in the UK now on Friday morning. I believe you're literally about to start a meeting in a few minutes over in Singapore on Friday morning. And for Gabe, I don't think it's even sunset yet. So you still enjoy your Thursday while we roll in Friday, mate.
It's happy hour, so I'm gonna go do a little bit of that.
I'll upload the podcast and maybe have a drink
Alexia
while I wait.
Sing a song about. We need Alexia to write a song about FPL for us. That's what we want, and then she can come on the show and sing it.
See, the funny thing is, Alexia, sadly, Chris doesn't want to hear your existing song about football. He wants a song about his FPL misery and the red arrows and the pain. He wants you to do a rap battle with FPL Pig and Rob Songs and these guys.
That's right.
He wants you to beef them. Maybe we can get Dread and you guys do a duo together. We go jamming.
Get Dread. We'll do a jamming session, an FPL jamming session.
Like when Sinead O'Connor made that reggae album, like Alexia and Dread can get together and make this like a brilliant football FPL reggae album.
Imagine.
I'll write the lyrics.
I worry. As long as you don't swear in the first 30 seconds of the song, that's allowed as well.
Can I swear in the last 30 seconds?
Yeah, as much as you like. Once I play the intro music, you can swear as much as you like. I think it mutes you.
I'm not going to swear. I'm going to be good.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Hopefully you have a fantastic game week 31. We will see you next week. It's likely to be just Marin and I as Gabe starts to go on a few weeks of travels. And then we'll welcome him back when all three of us are together again going into May. But I think this might be Gabe's last show for the next few, so we will miss him. So send him your messages, tell him to enjoy his time off and switch off on the FPL beach and go to the real beach.
I'll be in Mexico, so I'll be in Riviera Maya. Yes.
I am not. No, I am going to swear. Fuck off.
Exactly. Not such a good boy anymore, are you, man?
No. Bye-bye.
All right, well, lovely to see you all. Good luck and see you for the next game week.